Okay. I thought start with I don't know, sort of three fairly short poems on time, on sort of vaguely the time. And this is one that I'm still working on, really. Now, 3 minutes looking at sunset. Now, looking out of the window at the river, waves and ripples capturing sky fragments, looking at the dome of sky, deep, dark blue above, lightening gradually, perfectly to the brilliant orange-red strip, resting on the far bank's blackness. The bright strip thinner and thinner as I breathe. This miracle of all miracles, this continuous moment perceived even briefly before darkness, unseen stars and town lights, now and knowing it. It still needs work, I'm afraid, but I thought I'd give it a go. This one is an older one, sort of recently revised. Time travel. Time travel is commonplace, but difficult and slow. To go, say, from 1952, when I was born, to be seen walking across a lawn in 2024, took me 72 years, or so it appears. And this one is one I wrote some time ago. Because of Laura's work, we traveled an awful lot. Sometimes mostly I traveled with her, but often there was periods when she was working one place and I was left somewhere other. This is Luang Prabang, which is in Laos. So Luang Prabang. Sitting at a bar, I watched the ferry cross and recross the Mekong. A long river boat pushes upstream from afar. I drink my beer lao till it's gone, but I'm not going anywhere soon. I take up my shoes off at a Wat in the city, the concrete hot beneath my feet. Buddha smiles from earth to Nevada and back through a crack in eternity. But I'm not going anywhere soon. The sound of a temple gong breaks into a half-forgotten song. Holding onto an umbrella, a beautiful Cinderella rides a motorbike up the street and is gone. But I'm not going anywhere soon. The bright butterflies glide from flower to flower. The river flows past hour after hour, but I'm not going anywhere soon. I sit at the airport waiting for you. Planes take off and land. This isn't how I planned it, but I'm not going anywhere soon. That's the last of three. That was in 2011.
Beautiful poetry. Thank you, Joel. Just feel privileged to listen to it. It's lovely. Thank you. Amazing. Hello, Nick. Good evening. Nice to see you. Hello, George. Okay, the list we've got, we're going to go, Joel's just started the readings, and then we've got Vivian, Mohammed, hang on, get my glasses on. My writing gets worse and worse. Mohammed, Norman, Nick, and Peter, and myself. Okay, so if we could move on to Vivian, please.
Yes, this is one I wrote last weekend. I was playing around with Edward Thomas's Adelstrop, which obviously one of his famous poems. I wasn't trying to better it. I was just trying to sort of play around with the words, and this is what I came up with. I remember the station now, as it was when a steam train passed through on a weekday afternoon. Unusual for the time. Hissing steam and a cough, all that was seen and heard, on a platform bare of anything except its name. Grass in the cracks, dahlias and bluebells, where passengers once stood whilst waiting, now growing unchecked, lonely like the cloudlets above. A robin's song cut across the silence, joined by others, first from near, then afar, as all the birds chorused from around in unison. Okay, that's the first one. My second one is one of mine from my book, that one, and I called it Calm Waters. I walked down to the riverbank. I looked, I watched, I saw a peaceful scene. Fish flitting about, pebbles moving along with the current. Boats glided by, their V-shaped wake making waves, spreading to the bank where they disappeared. I heard birds calling their mates from the treetops, then with a soft whoosh, glided gently down to the water, where they settled before dipping their heads to feed on unseen treats. As for me, I found a seat where I could continue my musings and have a picnic next to calm waters. Okay, and my last one, I was given a copy of a Billy Collins book yesterday, Horoscopes for the Dead, and I've picked this poem from it. I really like the book, actually. It's the first one I've owned of his, and I really like this poem. It's called Palermo. It was foolish of us to leave our room. The empty plaza was shimmering. The clock looked ready to melt. The heat was a mallet striking a ball and sending it bouncing into the nettles of summer. Even the bees had knocked off for the day. The only thing moving besides us, and we had since stopped under an awning, was a squirrel who was darting this way and that, as if he were having second thoughts about crossing the street, his head and tail twitching with indecision. You were looking in a shop window, but I was watching the squirrel, who now rose up on his hind legs, and after pausing to look in all directions, began to sing in a beautiful voice, a melancholy aria about life and death. His forepaws clutched against his chest, his face full of longing and hope as the sun beat down on the roofs and awnings of the city. And the earth continued to turn and hold in position the moon, which would appear later that night as we sat in a cafe, and I stood up on the table with the encouragement of the owner and sang for you and the others the song the squirrel had taught me how to sing. Thank you.
Thank you, Vivian. It's lovely.
No, thank you.
Your Adlestrop poem, you know, the tribute to it, was very much evoked that same feeling. It was a beautiful poem.
Yes, yeah, it is a lovely poem. I wasn't trying to improve it.
Well, no, but
I just wanted to play around with it.
I just want to say your version was very good and very moving.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Very nice. And Palermo is pretty good as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Right, so we come into Mohammed. Good evening, Mohammed.
Thank you. Good evening to all. I'm going to sing to start with. I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today, yeah. The girl that's driving me mad is going away. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, but she don't care. She said that living with me is bringing her down. For she would never be free when I was around. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, but she don't care. I don't know why she's riding so high. She ought to think twice, she ought to do right by me before she gets to saying goodbye. She ought to think twice, she ought to do right by me. I think I'm gonna be sad. I think it's today, yeah. The girl that's driving me mad is going away, yeah. Oh, she's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride. She's got a ticket to ride, but she don't care. My baby don't care. My baby don't care. My baby don't care. Thank you. So I understand it's on the 19th of April that they released that single. So it has to do with today's date. Okay, moving on to something more sober, which is killing one another. Israel has hit Iran. Iran, Israel, I'm fed up to my teeth. The stars have packed and gone home. Poverty of peace is all around, pricking the feet of the underdogs. Tears have melted frozen oil. Death has knocked one time too many. I have hit my conscience and broken into pieces. Fire of guilt and remorse, singeing my bolted and numbed head. We will have to be victors, the best players and actors. But will the universe permit that, as the embers of a dying flame of love lie turning to ash? So, yeah, that's a sobering one, I must say. Okay, but let's try to lighten the mood with Boris. Boris, what is Boris doing these days? I mean, I hear he's a bit of a poet these days. Venezuela, I have visited with the Vuvuzela to make that place democratic or to stay sick. Give Israel bombs. Let that peace bomb. I'm now a soothsayer. Haven't got a prayer. Better than Cap hindsight, using polythene to pick up my shite. You know, that sort of joke, toilet humor. But you know, I'm getting back into politics. Meanwhile, Trump says, I paid hush money and no tax, but Mexican immigrants have their souls black. I have no sense of shame. Guns allowed. They may shoot me as a game. You're wonderful. I lead the GOP. Please vote for me. Okay, that ends me for now.
Well, that was magnificent. But
thank you.
That poem in the middle, powerful. The way you can express out of all that horror, you put it so well poetically. Thank you, Mohammed, for that.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah, it's very good. Right, so Norman, are you ready for us? We're ready for you.
Can you hear me, George?
Perfectly.
Loud and clear.
Yeah.
Okay. I've got two, guys. The first one is light. It's me reminiscing about sayings that my grandma, my mother's mother, she used to come out with them, and I was, especially in primary school, never heard them before, and it was quite fascinating for me what they meant. The second one takes a leaf out of Muhammad's book, because I too have written a war poem. So we'll cover that secondly. But first one is called Snowing in Paris. Some of you may recognize these phrases, by the way. Snowing in Paris. It was a crisp December day when I heard my grandma say to my mum in the Aga-driven kitchen, "It's snowing in Paris." My imagination transported me to the Eiffel Tower, bedecked from top to bottom in snowflakes and large icicles. As my mind returned to my weekend primary school homework, I asked my grandma where she heard or read the Paris news. "What news?" she said. I repeated, "It's snowing in Paris." She laughed and explained it was a term of endearment aimed at my mum because her white petticoat had slipped 1 inch below her skirt line. Grandma had many more such sayings. One evening, I was reading my Biggles book when she exclaimed, "That's just wheels within wheels." "What's wheels within wheels?" I questioned. "Is it like my spirograph patterns?" "Sort of," Grandma frustratingly replied. "Government politicians on TV talk a good talk, but there is never a straight answer. It just ends up wheels within wheels." "I see," I said sheepishly. One Saturday afternoon, Grandma announced from behind her weekend newspaper, "They need to keep their powder dry." I thought, what's she on about now? She continued, "They need to keep their powder dry, the Americans, or there will be war in Vietnam." Grandma told me it meant not to rush in. I did wonder many years later. Anyway, I put down my football monthly and gave Grandma a great big hug and said, "I'll touch base with you later, Grandma." As I left the room and looked back over my shoulder, I could see a wide, radiant smile on her face. And there we go. Now, the next one, as I say, it's in a way, but it's horrible. I mean, I hate war. Too many innocent people killed, died throughout the ages. And I wrote this one because I heard an extremely early report on what happened to this girl when I was sitting in a supermarket car park, and there's this early report on Radio 4. And it's about a 6-year-old girl that gets caught up in the shooting. And it's called 6 Years Old. Missiles fly and pierce the air. Once fertile land is now laid bare. She's only 6 years old when she makes the call, whilst the bullets fly and the missiles fall. Hidden in her uncle's car, she dare not stray from her haven into the dust and rubble, so she remains inside the family bubble. But uncle, aunt, and cousins have all been killed inside the bullet-ridden car where machine guns drilled. The car is choked by broken buildings and crumbling pillars. She's been left for dead by the machine gun killers. And still the missiles fly and pierce the air. Once fertile land is now laid bare. The rescuers arrive on site at speed. The dangers all around they heed. 6 years old, and our hopes are raised as paramedics find her shocked and dazed. But tanks and shells rain on down upon these innocents in this wasteland town. And so, 7 souls lie in the carnage, testament to the warmongering damage. You need to talk, for can't you see how futile fighting leaves misery? Look into the eyes of your own loved ones, your mother, father, daughters, and sons, and you will see their fear and stress. They simply pray for peace and love. That's all they ask, no more, no less. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Norman. Serious stuff there. How futile fighting leaves misery. Couldn't be a truer word. Yeah.
Mm.
Thank you. Very moving. Yeah. All unnecessary there. So. Nick, what have you got for us?
Well, I got a railway station.
Oh, good. Adlestrop?
No, Dent.
Dent. Oh, that's even better.
I summoned Dent, the little station high above the remote valley, reached on the great brick viaduct that cuts across the empty fields overgrown with wind-blown grass. The bright red benches on the platform provide more seats than villagers could ever need. Lots of room for hikers and packed rucksacks. The old-fashioned lampposts holding aloft their big glass cases like they've walked out of Narnia share the same fresh red paint that pops the two-platform station out of the moorland landscape. You can visit the station on Street View, walk up and down each platform, cross the track by the sign that says beware of trains. They never come. You can visit the tiny waiting room, even step out towards the waiting car, but that's your lot. You cannot leave this tiny place adrift in time. And this one's one I wrote today. It's called Belonging. Azaleas tumble flowers into lake reflections, sporting their pink and purple flower heads. Close by are daisies sprinkled into grass around the fledgling rosebush beds. As a cloud comes over, colours mute. A brief spring shower not built to last. We quicken pace towards the shelter. As we wait out the shower, a fox trots past, glances in, and quickening her pace, is gone. The sun returns. A heron laps across the sky. We pass two others by the lower lake, watching the dark green waters rippling by. Within this gentle managed landscape, nature acknowledges no bounds, no gate. And I'll finish with Airbag. Sitting inside the middle of the steering wheel, you could be forgiven for having forgotten it entirely. It was not even a consideration when you got the car, and you have already navigated an uncountable number of roads without any need for it, or any indication it was actually installed. Then one day, it hits you in the face and saves your life. Love is an airbag.
That's a lovely metaphor. Yeah, lovely, very good. Thanks, Nick. Yeah, Dent is a beautiful little village. It's really high up in the Pennines, and it's got cobbled streets. You know, it's idyllic. It's about 15 minutes from me in the car, and the poem is very good. The poem's very good. It just sums it up. That kind of sense of almost lost in time. Bypass. Yeah.
It's really weird on Street View because Street View generally is a car driving down the road, and you know but this was obviously done on foot.
Yeah,
if you go down one platform, you cross the little railway line on the duckboard, you know, wooden bits across. It hasn't got a bridge or anything, and you can walk on the other platform. And then all you can do is turn around and walk back. And back to the main platform. And then you can walk into the waiting room and you turn right and look at the window, and then you can walk up to the window, and then you have to sort of back out again. And then you go to the car park and visit the car. That's all you can do.
Road to nowhere.
It doesn't connect to the road, you know.
No. Well, if you come up for the Morecambe Poetry Festival, Nick, I could take you up to Dent. So very welcome. Peter,
Yep.
what have you got for us, please?
I'm going to read a couple of Philip Larkin poems.
Right.
But if Nick gets up to Dent Station, is he going to be stuck there forever? That's the. Will he ever get out again?
Your guess is as good as mine.
It is a bit Hotel California-ish.
Yeah.
He'll make a dent in the trip anyway.
Oh. Right, so this is the trees. The trees are coming into leaf like something almost being said. The recent buds relax and spread. Their greenness is a kind of grief. Is it that they are born again and we grow old? No, they die too. Their yearly trick of looking new is written down in rings of grain. Yet still the unresting castles thresh in full-grown thickness every May. Last year is dead, they seem to say. Begin afresh, afresh, afresh. And spring. Green-shadowed people sit or walk in rings. Their children finger the awakened grass. Calmly a cloud stands, calmly a bird sings, and flashing like a dangled looking glass, sun lights the balls that bounce, the dogs that bark. The branch-arrested mist of leaf and me, threading my pursed up way across the park, and in an indigestible sterility. Spring, of all seasons most gratuitous, is fold of untaught flower, is race of water, is earth's most multiple, excited daughter. And those she has least use for see her best, their paths grown craven and circuitous, their visions mountain clear, their needs immodest. Philip Larkin.
Thank you. Thank you. Well read. Thanks. Right. I've been going through a bit of a poetry death period recently, and then I always go for something with a formula to get me writing again. So I decided to write Clerichues, which is a posh way of saying limericks, except the last line is not the same as the first, as in limericks. So this was the Reverend Clerihue came up with that formula. So I wrote 3. There was an old geezer from York whose diet was solely of pork. He once ate a whole litter to prove he was fitter than men who ate peas with a fork. That's the first one. And the second one, there once was a woman from Bath who had the most massive laugh. On hearing a joke, a mountain she broke. Now she's buried right under its path. Now, there was a strange man from Darjeeling who was said to be very unfeeling. Just for fun, he would upset his mum, yet he lectured in spiritual healing. Boom, boom. So, well,
I tell you, that's a talent there, George.
thank you. That's one word for it, I suppose. I go to this reading group in Morecambe, and basically you write a story or a poem in about 20 minutes, and then you read it to the group and you share it around the group. And so but the guy who conducts it gives you sort of stuff that is kind of off the shelf. You know, he might say, write about peanuts, or he gives you a saying to write, and it's on that theme. So he gave us culture the other day. So I said, I did this. It's not perfect. It was written in like 20 minutes. We had our idea of culture. It was Jesus, cold showers, and the Queen, imposed in lands of tiger and vulture, where we strictly enforced our regime. We had conurbations and coal fires, factories of mass production, making ships and pans and car tires, and illness and slums and corruption. Our leaders were pillars of virtue who learned classics in public schools and stayed well away from the dirt you acquired and regarded all others as fools. They ignored all folk learning passed down, or other gods and the ways of the past. On the uncultured they would frown, believing their own ways would last. But culture, as ever, moves on, with changes in dress, and manners and song. New ways of speaking and believing evolve. And who's to say whose culture is wrong? So there you go. So we have a little break, cup of tea time.
That's
Well,
even, George, an even
What?
greater talent. You wrote that in 20 minutes.
yeah, well, it's kind of doggerel in a way, isn't it? I suppose, but you need to kind of have a theme and a focus. But Nick does that. Nick's very annoying. Nick can go to a poetry group, and he'll suddenly say, "Oh, I've just written this," and he'll come up with something that's brilliant. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know how he does it.
I don't know,
Being a young man.
I was going to say, does iPad 039 want to read before we have a
No.
break?
iPad
No,
039 disappeared, but it's back again.
Yeah, but Addo 39 it says it's on volume only or something. Are you anyone there? You're very welcome to join us, or you can just listen if you wish.
Yeah.
You're very welcome.
As long as
but,
it's, as long as it's not a TikTok gangster.
Say a war medal on them.
Yeah, okay. Joel, can you take us somewhere, please, poetically?
Okay. One moment. I should turn the light on, but never mind. I can do with the light of the computer. Right. Couple of here. We had, but the first half we had a couple of more than a couple of war-related poems, and also to do with trees. So this is one sort of combining the two. I was in Ho Chi Minh City in 2011, and I went to the War Remnants Museum. I was a bit hesitant about going because I thought this would be sort of celebrating the Vietnamese victory and all that sort of thing, but it wasn't anything of the sort. It was that the whole museum was anti-war, and included sort of objects donated by American servicemen who've come back to Vietnam and visited, and that sort of thing. And it talked a lot about the anti-war marches in Europe and in America, posters and slogans, but also talked about the effects of Agent Orange, but not just on the Vietnamese, but on the American soldiers and their offspring. It was very thoughtful and complex. You could spend quite a lot of time talking about details of it. It's a short poem, and this is The Survivors. Thoughtful, I leave the War Remnants Museum in the rain, past tall, straight trees that have stood oblivious. Sorry, one moment, I've got to move that across a bit. Past tall, straight trees that have stood oblivious to so much crime, so much inhumanity, fears, pain, so much human history. Their bases painted with white lime, they have grown skywards through time, and now, after 100 years, dwarf our petty lives with their grand innocence. Thank you. Slightly longer one. This is at Townsville Hospital in North Queensland. Basically, I was spending about 7 months there with Laura after she had a stroke, and we were airlifted to there from Papua New Guinea. She was working in Papua New Guinea. It wasn't a holiday jaunt, I have to say. Not that you would necessarily go there for a holiday jaunt. At the hospital, we mingled together, looking for hope, trying to be kind, for life is not. Accepting every sentimental phrase, knowing behind each tired word there lies meaning and history. Words falling almost heedlessly from someone's mouth retain a memory of purpose. There are so many times we're all reduced to this, bludgeoned by life, yet we still respond. We remain human and cannot turn away. Here we are, pushing each other in wheelchairs, all the amputees, severed from loved ones, homes, memories, or limbs. Painting on a brave face, telling each other, you have to laugh. Outside the glass, a bush turkey waits for fruitcake. Outside the glass, the street lights are decorated with cockatoos. Outside the glass, giant rain trees and paper guns fill with chatter and disputes of rainbow parakeets. Ibises march and probe the soil outside the glass at 6:30. An inflated orange moon rises between the foxtail and lipstick palms. And one more about time, a very old one of mine. Anyway, I like it. You get to a certain past, poems eventually have a life of their own, or they get to a stage and they have a life of their own, and you don't really own them anymore. So you can quite happily say this is a good one or this is a bad one or whatever, but it doesn't matter. It's things. Anyway, this is Human Time. Time passes, the precision of spring, the richness of summer, the wildness of autumn, the stillness of winter. Time passes, spring's precision, summer's richness, autumn's wildness, winter's stillness. Time passes, spring, summer, autumn, winter. Time passes, the eternity of bus stops. That's it.
Thanks very much, Joel. That first one, you know, how the trees grow tall despite their obscenity of what we do. That's wonderful. We are all the amputees, amputated from so much these days, and time passes. Yeah, lovely, wonderful.
That first poem led me to being invited to the first international Western Pacific an Asian Western Pacific poetry festival, International Poetry Festival, kind of representing the UK. I became famous in Vietnam for a week. It was very strange and surreal, I have to say. Even, you know, the whole group of us sort of foreign poets being presented to the president of Vietnam and all that sort of stuff, being given a Ho Chi Minh medal. It was very strange indeed, but yes, it was. But it was interesting that poetry was so important in Vietnam. They became engrossed in poetry in Vietnam in the 16th century, a bit like it's the time of Tudor here, and how was gentleman, to be a gentleman, you had to be able to do poetry. you know, that time, you know, in this country, and it was similar in Vietnam, and they had a temple where all the famous literary people were, their memorials were, like we have Poets' Corner, you know. I mean, it's similarities with cultures and differences at the same time. It's fascinating.
Asia has a lot to teach us, doesn't it? Going right back to Basho and haiku. And,
Yeah.
Mm.
Anyway, I'll mute myself now so someone else can have a go.
Okay. Well, it's just lovely talking to you. Vivian, are you ready for us, please?
Yes, I am. I went to a poetry workshop last week in a park I hadn't been in before in Beckenham. And it was nature-based, which was right up my street. It's a lovely park, actually. I went for a walk afterwards, and it was it's absolutely gorgeous. And this is the poem I came up with the like the words we'd chosen. I just called it Poem for You. No place I'd rather be right now. Shadows touching on the table. Sunshine and birdsong permeate through the open window. Walking pathways here, saw cherry blossom, blue-headed flowers, rushing river, sweet scent of grass on this perfectly beautiful spring day. Nature surrounds us, doesn't care, doesn't judge us for who or what we are, just giving us peace, quiet, and love, living right here, right now. And also on nature theme, I've got three haikus, and that'll be my lot. Brightness on my eyes. Sun suddenly emerges from behind a cloud. A cold, windy day. Sudden gusts, taking your breath away to elsewhere. After a strong wind, branch of blossom on the floor, a carpet of pink. Thank you.
Lovely. I particularly like the first poem. It was beautiful. I mean, most people would say bluebells. The poet would say blue-headed flowers. So it was lovely. So it's really nice. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Mohammed, what have you got for us, please?
All right. Okay. So phase 2. I'm going to read out my poem on Pink Moon. There's a pink moon going to be rising on the 23rd of April, but it's not going to be pink, it's orange, I believe. But it'll be interesting to look at, whatever the color. And it represents the cyclical. Things come back in a cyclical way, and light comes back in a cyclical way. Pink moon, I think it's all cyclical, the way the light returns, the pallor and the waning, the waxing of it all. The light returns and other things, my empty pocket, and stares at passing trains of remedies and wealth. It all goes round in circles and comes back to base, goes round, comes round, smiling faces greeting. Thank you. Okay, have been reading Ariel by Sylvia Plath, and this is Sheep in Fog. The hills step off into whiteness. People or stars regard me sadly, I disappoint them. The train leaves a line of breath. Oh, slow, hoarse the color of rust, hooves, dolorous bells. All morning, the morning has been blackening. A flower left out, my bones hold a stillness. The far fields melt my heart. They threaten to let me through to a heaven, starless and fatherless, a dark water. So the lady who eventually committed suicide, and her friend Dan Sexton did too. And I think both of them, by putting their heads in a gas oven,
Yeah,
So-
I actually went and saw her grave when I was up in Yorkshire a couple of years ago, and it was absolutely beautiful. Very simple, very simple
Mhm.
grave, with
Right,
flowers all
right,
around,
so
and
you
yeah,
got-
it was quite moving.
And to visit, yeah, out. Um, a poet.
He's gone.
Someone's got a problem with the speaker, or
Yeah, Mohammed's gone.
Mohammed? Oh, that's a shame.
He's
That's a
frozen.
shame. I wanted to make a comment about his pink moon and Ramadan, but perhaps he's still listening. Are you there, Mohammed? Well, if he comes back. Norman, were you just sticking around to listen, or you got more poems
Yeah.
for us?
I'm just
Yes.
sticking around to listen, and
Okay, well, that's very, very welcome as well. So,
yeah. I just want to ask Vivian, whereabouts Sylvia Plath's grave?
Oh, it's in a little village up in the Yorkshire Hills that I've completely forgotten what it's called now.
I'll Google
Begins
it.
with H.
I'm
Begins
going
with
up
H.
I'm going up to York in August. Yeah, it's okay.
Hemsby?
No,
Oh, well.
no.
I can
I
Google
can.
it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can Google. Yeah.
it begins with H, but I can't think of what it's called. But it's in this little churchyard in the middle of nowhere, and it's absolutely gorgeous.
Judging
Nick
by
knows,
Peter's,
he's laughing.
Peter's body language, he's probably Googling as we speak.
Yeah, no, he would be. He would be. Peter's on mute.
I think Nick is as
Heptonstall.
well.
Hepton Stall.
Heptonstall, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It looks like iPad 039 has gobbled up Mohammed.
Ah. It's the COVID I've had. Go on. Consuming everything in its path. Oh dear. Well, it's a shame because I think he probably had a technical problem there, didn't he? I think.
Okay, I'm going to shoot off now, guys. If that's all right. I've got a busy day tomorrow, so I've got a few things to do. So
Okay.
I'm going to shoot off now. But I'll, best wishes, and I'll
There's only Nick
see
to
you
come
all.
and,
I'll see you all again.
yeah, Nick and
Oh, is
Peter.
it? Oh, is it just Nick and Peter then?
Yeah.
All right then. If it's just Nick and Peter, I'll wait then. That's fine.
And George.
Right. Hey, and me, but I mean,
Oh,
you don't
and-
have to listen
yeah,
to
and-
me. I'm not worried if you shoot, but Nick might be nice to hear Nick.
Yeah, I'll hear
Mohammed's
Nick.
back. Mohammed's back. That's great.
Yes, my connection went. I don't know why it went, but it
Yeah.
disappeared.
Okay. Well, thank you for your pink moon, and
Yeah.
you must have been moon watching for Ramadan.
Oh yes, that I mean, I would want to watch. I would want to watch, but I get a view from my east window. I do get
Yeah.
a view of the half moon and
Yeah.
the full moon.
We can't be too long, Mohammed, because Vivian's
Yeah.
got to go soon. So I wanted her to hear.
Oh, all right,
Peter.
yeah. I just
But,
had we were talking about the obscenity law and Mae West. I just collected a few.
He's gone again.
Yeah, you've gone again, Mohammed.
Oh,
Shall we move on to Nick, Mohammed? We'll move on to Nick, I think.
you're
Oh,
muted, Nick.
yeah.
Oh.
Nick, can you unmute?
To go for it.
That's it.
Sorry.
Hey.
That
Between
better?
two evils. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
No.
No, not now. No, it's cut out again, Mohammed. I think we ought to hear Nick really, because Vivian's got to go soon.
But Mohammed's dropped out now, so it'll be a
Yeah.
little while before he gets back, I think.
Mhm.
Shadowlands, my prize-winning poem. I actually got a little bit of money for this.
Very good.
In second in the world famous Penge Poetry Festival of I don't know, several years ago. It's called Shadowlands. I love the shadows, soft and loose, slipping in between the sheets, wrapping with their gentle touch, giving form to simple shapes. I love the lack of definition, that otherness as angles shift, the way they clothe your nakedness and add mystery to my desire. I love the way they cool the heat, invite a gentle breeze to kiss between the shoulder and the neck, between one moment and the next.
Very good, Nick.
In a completely different vein, my local museum is the Bethlehem Museum of the Mind. And this is a little poem about my visit there. I found Bethlehem Royal Hospital to be a rather scary place. The museum was thoughtful, so real it left me in a somber mood. I wandered into the exhibition space. No one was on the door. When they found me, they explained that the exhibition wasn't open yet, that the launch party was that night, and that the museum itself had closed half an hour ago. Then they invited me to stay for canapes and wine. I very politely declined and asked to be let out.
Yes. Okay.
Place now.
You got any more for us, Nick? Or you?
Yes, I did have another one, but I've just lost my place.
All right.
So I'll read this one instead. Sorry, 1 second. Make the window a little bit wider. And grab. So, leaving. So when a man's about to die or near the end of days, he pays for men to dig a well that others may have water free to drink that's cool and pure and clear. Or plants a tree he carefully selects to spread the gift of shade to guests who will, in time to come, pass through on their own paths to God. May peace be found with him. And so he leaves a gift of perfect hospitality that lives beyond his life and honours those, perhaps unborn, that he will never meet.
Was
Thanks
that
very much.
was that last one? Was that yours, Nick? Did you write that last one?
Yeah.
you did.
God,
Lovely.
he's on fire tonight, isn't he?
Oh no, he always is.
I didn't write it tonight.
No. But I know what you mean. Yeah. And I would just have to say, I really was tickled by the airbag. I thought it was brilliant as well. No, but that last one was that was immense.
Mm.
Really good.
You should have heard the one he read last time. No prizes, Nick.
Well, we'll reserve that.
I'm not sure. I can't remember which one that was. You'll have to.
I
remind
can.
me.
Oh.
Anyway, I'm going to shoot now, everybody. So,
Yeah, okay, Vivian, nice to
all
see
right,
you.
cheers. See you soon.
I hope you didn't feel outnumbered, with our monstrous regiment of men here. But
No, I'm used to men. It's all right.
Okay.
All right. Cheers. Take care.
Right.
Bye.
Yeah. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Now, Mohammed, have you got anything you want to finish off with? Because you were kind of curtailed electronically.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's going to happen again, but let's see how far I can carry on. Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
So, okay, so it's something by Mae West, like some quotes that are interesting to note because of the humor. So, Mae West quotes, yeah. Between two evils, I always pick the one I never tried before. You only live once, but if you do it right, once is enough. A man in the house is worth two in the street. I used to be Snow White, but I drifted. Keep a diary, and someday it'll keep you. When I'm good, I'm very good. But when I'm bad, I'm better. Too much of a good thing can be wonderful. It's not the men in my life that count. It's the life in my men. Marriage is a great institution, but I'm not ready for an institution. Yeah, I think people might know this one. A hard man is good to find. Sex is emotion in motion. I believe in censorship. I made a fortune out of it. If I asked for a cup of coffee, someone would search for the double meaning. And finally, cultivate your curves. They may be dangerous, but they won't be avoided. The late great Mae West.
She was. As was Marilyn Monroe. Marilyn Monroe was a very intelligent woman, and you know, I think it's a shame how the body classifies people as being stupid if you've got a beautiful body, you know.
Yeah. She did write poetry. I'm trying to get a hold of that collection. There was once I ordered on Amazon. I think it got lost in the post, but I'm going to try again. You know, get access to that.
Yeah. So how are we going on our list now? Norman is still listening in. Nick has done his thing, and it leaves Peter and myself, I think.
Yeah.
Peter.
Right. In front of my house I have a small patch of grass that slopes down to the pavement, and I was trying to pull a dandelion root out this afternoon, and it had rained, so the grass was very slippery, and I fell backwards and rolled down the grass onto the pavement. So when I was thinking of things to read tonight, I thought of this one by Gene Sprackland. My father, 62. The day he retired, he celebrated in his own style by rolling down the castle rough, top to bottom in his second best suit. He climbed the green slope, quick and easy, lay down at the top, older son at his head, younger at his foot. We urged him on, tuck your arms in, empty your pockets. And he rolled over and over like a boy of 10, jacket flapping, body straight, was on his feet in seconds, breath unhurried, grey hair grass-flecked, collar grazed with green. And his smile, lifted at the carpet of years, rolled it back and back to a day in late summer, my 13th, tea in the garden, family, heavy heat. And his father just turned 80, springing, clattering from deck chair, apropos of nothing, tucking serious grey dignified head in a romping forward roll, a double act with a steep scorched lawn, top to bottom in his second best suit. And another Gene Sprackland poem. The hairdressers across the street. When they're alone and think no one's watching, some of the customers pick up the bottles, unscrew them and sniff. They lean towards the mirror and look at their teeth. When the stylist comes back, they're always idling through Homes and Garden or Hello. Today, a woman with a white perm has been having it washed. I've been watching the way her hair is so much longer wet. His hands were bunching it and raking it loose under the tap. Then he left the room. He was gone and gone. The woman was alone, with her head back in the cutaway basin. Do you know how it feels to be left like that? The water running off your hair. You don't like to sit up and call for service. A few bubbles fizz close to your ear. You start to shiver. The muscles are tight in the back of your neck, your throat arched and naked. Swallowing your own saliva is like swallowing rocks. I watch the woman till I think she must be asleep in that back-to-front black nylon cape. She's so still, I wonder whether she's dead. If the stylist doesn't get off the phone soon, he'll forget her, and she'll still be there when he grabs his jacket, sets the alarm, and locks the place shut behind him. the tick of the cooling dryers into the dusk, her hair dripping slower. And finally, well, I mean, this is now an anachronistic poem, I suppose, because there are no parking meters. Love song to a parking meter. Good, the street's quiet. I can run my hands all over you. Crisp edges, cold, smooth planes, slot shining and ready. Once someone had wedged a slice of cucumber in there. The shame. You give me exactly what I pay for. £2.60 for 1 hour. No debts run up, no favours, no strings attached. We deal together cleanly and without coercion. I never suffer flights of fancy about a little man crouching inside you, taking the money, keeping count. What I see, I like. Your privet green satin finish, your plain glass dial, your dignity, your fair play. Someone has written on your side, Des is sex on legs. I understand the need to tell you secrets. Sometimes I wrap my arms around you, bend close till my lips touch the cool of you. I tell you how it is for me here in this feverish city under an unstable sky. Your steady ticking is the only response I need. Oh, you are solidly mounted. I rock against you, but you stand firm.
That's it. How wonderfully she observes everything in life, Jean
No,
Sprackman.
yes.
Amazing poet. I thought Mohammed preempted me because I thought he was going to burst into lovely Rita Meter Maid when you read it at last month. But then he
Lovely
typed it out.
Rita Maid. Lovely Rita Meter Maid. Lovely Rita Meter Maid. Where would I be without you? We can make me think of you. That's a great poem.
Anyway, not to be outdone, this is my effort at singing in this poem, and it's on the subject of 1970s children's program themes and earworms. Do 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 da 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 da. I tunefully muttered. It wasn't that I stuttered. Then my daughter did it again. Oh my God, Dad! It's the Mr. Men. It's a Mr. Men. You know the theme tune. Dad, you loon. You've got to maybe say it. You've given me an earworm. Sorry, I said. Let's put that to bread. Da 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 da. Dad, I heard a shout. Now you've gone and planted the bloody magic roundabout. So there we go. That's for us oldies who remember these things. Thinking at a snail's pace. In hot weather, you'll never see a rout of snails nor a cornucopia of slugs. Only when it rains or hails, then you won't see too many bugs. So where do gastropods and mollusks go when the sun beats relentlessly down? They don't move fast, in fact they're slow, but they do beat a path out of town. No. What snails use is their own secretions to make a cap to seal the shell. This is the way they avoid mass deletions, and thus they stay quite well. The poor slug has no shell to hide in, so the soft-bellied fellow needs piles of leaves to stand any chance of surviving in a long drought. Well, my heart bleeds. However, these garden denizens are really quite hardy beasts. They'll survive with no help or medicines, and in autumn they'll come out to feast. So that's that one. And another one. Oh God. Oh yeah. This is one. When I first started, my wife Irma, you know, our first holiday together was in the New Forest, and I wrote this poem about her. We were quite young then, and this is in memory of her, really. It's called A Moment in the New Forest. You hugged the trunks of mighty trees in the vastness of the forest, joined your spirit to their sap, and worshipped the growth of Leviathan oaks. Beneath our feet, their summer cloaks give promise of new soil, while high above, some cracked fingers leave the city of their birth, descending as Newton said they must to join the crackling carpet of passing summer life. So death separates away by a kiss so subtle in a breeze we do not feel, though all too soon autumn's gales will tear and leave traceries and leave lace traceries of dormant life to weave their black webs against the bruised and brooding skies. Though we still hold this glorious paint box of crimsons, golds and umbers in a benign and softened sun, where a whole world tilts for this perfection at this time in this place. We are given a cathedral of no person's making, where we worship a joy which is of us and in us both forever, accepting at this moment ethereal will recur in an endless recreation. So anyway, that's it, folks, I think, for the night, probably.
I tell you something, that's brilliant, that one, George, and that's an early one, yes? An early
A
poem.
very early one, yeah, 1989, I think.
Yeah, really, really
Oh,
beautiful.
Mohammed. Thank you. That's a compliment. Yeah, 1989 that was.
Nick said beautiful George. So I wrote George is a handsome of the past.
Yeah. Oh, George Galloway, you mean? Yes.
No, not gorgeous George.
Gorgeous George.
Someone else entirely.
Yeah.
No, it was a lovely poem, George.
Yeah, it was.
Thank you. Thank you. I didn't read it that way.
Clearly.
I've had a hard day out. I've been in the garden all day, trying to save a doomed shed that's rotting away out there, and I've been gradually tearing the wood off and screwing new bits in and putting wood preservative on. Spent the whole bloody
The
day
shed
on
of
it.
Theseus, is it?
It is. It's or it's probably nearer to what's his face? The Stygian stable, the Labours of Hercules.
All right.
I think that's how it felt anyway. I call it the Stygian shed, shall I?